take a moment and go into where I have, yes, I'm gonna hit that live. 1 second. Okay, let me click that up. Okay, so welcome, welcome, welcome. This is Ann Sousa, founder of Healing the Global Village and owner of the Global Firewalk Institute. And we are here on Soulful Monday, Om Namah Shivaya, Lord Shiva Day. And I have my master teacher, Somananda from the Somananda Tantra School. I am very honored, humbled, and truly blessed to have you here. Truly. And yes, so we're here again. We're just going to talk about Soma has, I want to let him do his introduction to himself, and then I have a couple questions and response. And please do, for those people that are watching it now, please do share, like, and pass this on. And this being, we have a soul, and we can live in the world, and we don't have to be worldly, and we don't have to let the mundane of people, places, and things in life put our soul to sleep. So that's why we're here today. So thank you so much again, and please do introduce yourself.
All right. Well, hello, everyone. My name is Somananda. I've been uh, teaching, practicing, and being involved in spirituality, specifically the tantric form of yoga, Kashmir Shaivism, and Kundalini Yoga. And I've been teaching this for more than 20 years now. Um, I have started my career actually many years ago as an attorney, as a lawyer, but after a very short career of just a couple of years working with that, I realized that my future lays elsewhere, and I decided to explore spirituality, specifically yoga. And that's why I basically left behind my work as a lawyer, sold my car, got rid of my apartment, the whole thing, and moved to India, where I searched for spiritual teachings. After a search in India, I found eventually one of my earliest gurus, a spiritual master, and with his help, I have developed a lot in my spiritual practice, and I started teaching. And later on, I was introduced to other spiritual masters in different levels of knowledge, and this has been my life in the last 25 years or so. So that's my history, that's my past, and now that you know me a little bit better, I guess it's time for us to open up a little bit and discuss spiritual topics. If Anne have anything to start us off with, I'd be happy to discuss.
Sure. Yeah. So the format here is it's kind of organic in a way, but at 11:11 there'll be a little alarm that goes on, and I like to have a moment of silence, really, for humanity, for healing the global village, and just for a minute a day, if we can, or more, to have a mindfulness of consciousness. And I just want to say a little bit, and then we'll go there with you, Soma. Um, I've been in the spiritual path for the past 30 plus years, but I can tell you in the last 4 years, the expansiveness of my soulful consciousness and the level of growth that I've had in your school has been what I've always said about your school, your wife, your brother, Damananda, and the staff and the team is the Somananda Tantra School is a spiritual university. And the purification, the transformation, and the evolution of my own personal karma, and the journey to awaken on a deeper level even though I was in indigenous tribes and cultures and initiated, this by far has been some of the best medicine. So I just want to really pinpoint that and say to the viewer here live, the viewer here later on, a couple weeks from now, when you see this, please do know that there's something for everybody that I feel in the Somananda Tantra School as a Tantra
Well,
massage teacher
thank
and
you.
yoga. Yeah.
Thanks for saying that, Anne. You see, maybe I'll discuss this a little bit from my own point of view. I actually, as I said, started my career from a very practical and almost materialistic point of view, being an attorney, and I was looking for, getting things done, a kind of goal-oriented personality. But I've always been, going towards spirituality from a very early age, and I was interested in prayer and in certain interaction with something bigger than myself. And I tried various things as a young boy, even, but only at some point later on, because of various events in my life, I started going more into the spiritual teachings. And when I've done that, perhaps that was my, I would say, advantage, is that I also came to spirituality from the same practical background. And I think that's important because a lot of people come to the spiritual path from a very euphoric, new agey, a bit fluffy point of view. They just want something cool, something nice, to feel good with people, to connect with the universal energy, whatever the heck that is, because they don't really know, but it's just about, getting something to feel good. And I have nothing against that, but I would say that I am very blessed and I'm happy that I came from a more, goal oriented, almost business like environment, because I also approach spirituality with this critique, with this kind of approach that I'm not interested in just some kind of feel good, wishy washy approach to spirituality, because then why am I doing it? I have other things to do, I could work as an attorney, I could do other things, focus on business. But I was not looking for that. I really wanted to see if it's something real or if it's just a bunch of hippies sitting together singing Kumbawa, or I don't know, because I was simply not having the interest or patience for that sort of thing. And by doing that, because in the last few decades and more, you can see in the spiritual environment in the world, in many countries, even in India, and I'm calling right now from India, I'm in South India right
Yes.
now, um, that there's a lot of is that our
That's a prayer.
all right prayer time, and I'll continue.
We'll take Thank you so much.
So as I was saying, as a result of this background, it helped me to sieve through a lot of the superficial so-called spirituality which is out there, and seeing through a lot of the fake gurus and teachers which you can find in India and in many other countries pretty quickly. And that was very lucky for me. And because of that approach, I could find authentic teachers relatively more easy. It's not always easy to find, but I managed. I myself studied, maybe again because of my background as an attorney, I studied the ancient spiritual texts, especially the ancient yoga texts that I got my hands on. I studied them myself, so I was able to compare what I was learning to the authentic knowledge and make sure that the person speaking knows what they're talking about. And as a result of that, I was able to jump in pretty early into the spiritual practice and go very deep. And then, as a result of that, after a few years of very intense spiritual practice myself, many hours of meditation, many hours of practicing yoga, pranayamas, mudras, bandhas, many other things, kundalini, and so on, I was able to see results reasonably well. And it was important for me, and I think it's important for everyone who is trying to go on a spiritual path, because a spiritual path, and this is a very important point, a spiritual path is not just about feeling that you're doing something nice. A spiritual path is about confirmation, which means you're doing the practice, you're doing the effort, and you see effects.
Mhm.
Only when the effects come in and there is a shift that starts happening within you. In other words, you see a certain transformation. It doesn't even have to be huge, but some transformation is there. Only then can you actually realize, hey, I'm a different person than what I used to be a year ago or whatever, 6 months ago or 2 years ago. I'm different. I'm interacting differently with people, with close relatives, with friends. I'm thinking differently. Circumstances that come my way in life, I'm actually able to overcome issues that previously I couldn't. And you see the change. And that's critical because people need to see the change in order to, number one, feel in within themselves that they are doing something valuable that has meaning, and it's not just again some wishy-washy feel good type of thing. And second of all, because you're actually evolving spiritually, and that's what, if you call it Soulful Mondays, this is what it's all about. Because saying we have a soul, saying that we have an inner spirit, a higher self, or whatever, this is very sweet, but it's just words.
Mhm.
A person can say, I have a soul, I'm connected to my higher spirit. And then what? You eat a pizza and you go watch TV, and life is the same. It didn't change anything. In
Exactly.
order for this to have a meaning, you need to do the practice and you need to start seeing the transformation. It's a little bit like when you're cooking something. You put a bunch of ingredients together, but it's not enough just to throw them together and sit and watch. You have to start the fire and cook it slowly. And as it cooks slowly, the ingredients bind together and they create something which is more than the sum total of all the elements. It
Mhm.
becomes something unique. It becomes something incredible, tasty, whatever, orgasmic, but then you actually see a change. And the interesting thing is this concept of cooking is important because when you cook something, once it has been cooked and now you have you've created a dish. Isn't it interesting that you can't anymore at that point separate the elements back, the flour and the sugar and the this and the that, and bring, no, the change is permanent.
Yes.
And that's what we're talking about. So it's not enough just to talk about the soul.
Mhm.
It's important to actually start seeing and becoming a person who can truly observe, evaluate, and become one with that soul. Otherwise, it's just words. And
Mhm.
unfortunately, this is the biggest thing I try to talk to people and students about is stop being focused so much on the words that people say, because people would say, oh, and I've seen people talk big, all kinds of sweet words and spiritual statements and whatever, but there's no real change within. That's what you need to have. You need to develop, you need to put the hours and practice and do the spiritual practice, and then the change really comes. And then you'll see if the soul is just a word or if it's something real. Because when you have that kind of vision, which in yoga we call self realization,
Mhm.
then you truly realize. Then you're not the same person anymore. You are moving to a higher category of individual or human. And that's what
Yes.
it's all about.
Yes. Well, thank you for that because I myself have experienced this transformation within your school. As I said, when I look back to the years of doing various, indigenous shamanic medicines work, did my life change, shift? For sure, it did. But when I came into your school and life got real on many levels, and the transformation, And, I came in with a very heavy karma through a catastrophic event in my life at the time in space. And when I think of going to India and doing the 260 hours and pushing through what I pushed through, it required the elevation of you, Lisa, Dharma, the school, to assist and aid me through the yoga, through the meditation, through the practice, through the discipline to really move something quite beautiful, actually. So, yes, words can be empty if there's not a disciplined practice and an action, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm very grateful for that. And thank you also for sharing about, because, you've shared the story. I've been, in circle with you enough to know from that place of in the modern day world as an attorney with this aim of, where you were going to go. And maybe a moment realizing that, no, this isn't it. And selling your car and moving and, taking that jump, that risk to then go walk. I don't know. I mean, the vision I have is you walk in the streets of India just looking for something authentic.
Wasn't that far.
Yeah. And, of course, I lived in India for 9 months, so I know I mean, it's amazing. I cry because I'm not there, and I cry when I am there. It's
Yeah,
kind of got that.
I have the same feelings. Some things are challenging here, but when you leave, you always miss it.
Yes, truly. So, yeah, thank you for sharing that. And then the other thing is, and you've gave some great points here. In the times that I mean, I can't say we've come from, we're still in. Of course, abiding by you as a master teacher and the laws of karma to what you can and will share here. The shift, something that occurred from 2020 pandemic. I think about it in the time of space of like community, what I've been raised on. 99% of what ails you, community can remedy if you have a solid foundation and tribe of like-minded people that, and then, so the community got taken away in 2020 around the world. We all felt this global synergetic karma. I've said, it's a global karma. And then, like I just went to a store the other day and I've been seeing this woman, Soma, for 15 months like this. And I never saw the other half of her. And today, the other day, I saw and I said, wow. And she said, what? I said, you're so beautiful. Like I never saw this other half of you, which is the smile. And of course, we know what they say, the synapses, the firing of, the neurons when you smile like this. Now you smile, then we all smile. There's like a contagion that happens there. Thank you for the sneeze. Another world confirming. So, it's like, I mean, what is this impacted? And again, yeah, soul.
It is definitely a global karma, and it's not a good karma. So the idea is, and by the way, it's not news to those who are aware of how things work, because actually, in my circles, in the spiritual circles that I come from my lineage, it has been known, because the ancient texts speak about this, that there is a certain thing which is called cosmic cycles, as you know, which are called the yugas in the Indian tradition. And we are now at the end of what is called Kali Yuga, which is the Iron Age, which is the time which is the least spiritual in the very, very big history of our world. And I know that there's different people with different opinions. A lot of New Age people talk about the age of Aquarius and the age of this and the age of that. And people try to say that actually things are amazing or whatever. But I'm not here to argue. I'm only, and this is always my path, I only rely on the authentic spiritual texts, which were written thousands of years ago by enlightened beings. In the tantric texts, such as the Mahanirvana Tantra and a few other texts from the Vedic and other traditions in India, you find that they all agree that we are now in the Kali Yoga age, in this very dark age spiritually. It could be, technologically advanced, civilization is developed. This is possible, but here the definition is by spiritual level alone. Nobody talks about how many gigabytes you've got on your iPhone and how advanced it is. That is not important from the perspective of those texts. They only deal with spirituality. So spiritually speaking, we're at the worst time ever. And not only that it's Kali Yuga, we are at the end of Kali Yuga, which is the worst of the worst. And as a result of that, it was predicted and it was known that as the end comes, there would be such kind of a global event. It was not really specified to such a degree of details, but it was obvious that it's coming. It was just not clear when. Some people speculated already by 2006, others said 2012, the famous 2012, but we're seeing now that this is moving more towards 2030 probably, or something like that, maybe a bit more, where this cycle is going to come to really a screeching halt. And when that comes, then there will be a shift. At the end of this cycle, which is what we're witnessing, we're starting to see that the world is changing dramatically. And those changes are unfortunately mostly not good. The forces of darkness, sorry, I don't want to sound dramatic, but it is what it is. The forces of darkness are given the license from the divine consciousness to do what needs to be done, because it's not, people think, the devil or whoever is in charge and God is losing the battle. It's a ridiculous concept. Everything that happens ultimately under the authorization or the approval of the divine consciousness. And because of karma, this is what we're seeing now. And yes, that means that we are facing the depersonalization of the human being. We can't see the person because of the masks and all that, which is not a minor thing. People think, okay, so there's a mask, what's the big deal? It's not a minor thing. Psychologically, what it does, and even from principles of magic that I won't go into right now because that's a big story in itself, covering half the face is kind of making you lose it's dehumanizing. You lose the humanity, you lose the connection. It's easier to be nasty, for example, to a person who is covered or something, and to lose this human connection. And that's just minor. That's one thing compared to all the things which are going on in the background, from the change in society, the economic collapse, which is, I'm not saying coming, it's already here for a while now, but it's, people are just noticing how it's going to get much, much worse in the coming months. And more, which is happening spiritually. There's a lot of this black magic going on. There's a lot of this negativity going on. And this is what we're encountering at this time. So the question, of course, would be, what can people do? What should be done at this point in time? And that is a big question. That is something that I'm answering when I have a talk such as this on Zoom with my students, especially with my advanced students. I have a group of people who are more advanced, and you know about that. And then I share with them more about what can be done, how can it be approached. And just to sum up, I would say that the main solution, if we can call it a solution, that the main approach at this point in time must be a spiritual approach, because you can't fight something which is of a spiritual nature, even if it's dark, because it's still a form of dark spirituality. We can say it's a spiritual war that we're facing right now. You can face it with tools or weapons, if you want to call it, which are just physical, or I don't know, from other levels. You have to fight fire with fire, as they say. And when it comes to spirituality, you need to have spiritual people with the spiritual maturity and abilities to be able to stand up and to support humanity as best as it can be supported at this point in time, with this very, very challenging transition that we are already experiencing and will experience more as it comes. So the spiritual approach is the approach, and spirituality doesn't mean just to say a few prayers and to watch videos of cats or something. It requires actual meditation and practice. And if you don't know how to do those things, take a course quickly and get started. That would be my advice.
Mhm. Well, thank you so much for this.
Mhm.
And, for the average person out there in the world, um, someone said take a course and take it quick. What I would say is, you know, uh, I think there's hope, um, but more than hope for me, I feel, I know, I've even had counsel with you about this. It's like I see all the shifts, the change, the way the world was, and I have a peace. Maybe I've accepted this as a global karma. I have a practice and a discipline myself, and but there's much that's been false for a long time, and there's, to me, feeling like there's a total dismantling in the world going on. Um, so,
Yeah,
what might you say about that, and what could be a takeaway for the average person that's really someone not connected to their soul, but they're hungry inside. They just yearn, and they know that there's something else they want and desire. What might be
sure.
I look at the Soulful Monday, it's an ignition. It's like an arc or a spark. Somebody can catch the word to a concept in their brain, their mind, their spine, and then be led. Because I always want to lead people to the Somananda Tantra School, because I know the authenticity and the quality of this, what is being taught here. So.
I understand. I agree with what you say. The only thing is that as much as you and perhaps others are sitting and saying, I'm in peace, I'm okay with everything, I do my own practice, I'm going to go through this. You probably have already an advantage that most people don't have if you're in that state, which is great. But I would recommend to be vigilant, because it might not be enough from other perspectives. And that is, I could say that I'm in peace right now and I sit and meditate and so on. Okay, and it works and it's nice. But what happens when things change in the world around you, especially in your close vicinity? Like suddenly there's, I don't know, problems around. There's, I don't know. I'm in India here. Sometimes there's people who are fighting against the police. Sometimes there's, the police comes over and wants to vaccinate people, or there could be all kinds of occurrences around you. And then telling the situation, which can be tough, hey guys, don't disturb me, I'm just doing my meditation here, might not convince them to leave you alone. So
Mhm.
that's why another thing to do would be, yes, cultivate that inner peace, yes, cultivate that understanding of what's going on, but also act. And that's the key, already act to make sure that you put yourself indeed in an environment which can be more peaceful in nature, remote or whatever, where even if things start deteriorating in many places, you still would be in a more safe environment where you can do your spiritual practice, where you can do whatever you do, because that supports the whole world. When people meditate, the effect is incredible, even globally. I know people don't believe this, but even statistic has shown it. Like in some cases, in some cities, when there were certain TM meditations, transcendental meditation, which are not that advanced. We have much more advanced meditations. But when they did certain conferences for a month where 4,000 people meditated for a couple of hours every day, they were surprised to see that by the end of that month, they checked and saw that the crime rate has decreased by 30 something percent in those cities. And this has been tested again and again. So when people might think it's a hippie way of thinking, but it's not a joke. If actually there would be 100,000 people, let's say, or 500,000, why not, who sit every day and do a good quality, not some new age mumbo jumbo, but a really good quality meditation for an hour, just an hour a day, this whole crisis could end in 3 weeks,
Wow.
probably less.
Wow.
So our spiritual practice has an impact, but you still need to find a quiet spot or a quiet country or a countryside place or whatever where you can be left alone to do your, I would say, holy work.
Sure.
As for what you're saying beyond that, there still are practical things that we can do on a daily basis. But the main problem is that many people out there, as you said, there's a lot of people in the daily life who are just, having their own usual type of living. You've got your house, your family, your work, your usual stuff. And maybe they're having this hunger that you speak of. They really want to develop. They want spiritually to open up. They want to see things beyond. But the problem is that a lot of people want that. They have the desire, but many people are not willing to make the effort to obtain it. It's like somebody that says, I would like to be a great piano player. And you tell them, okay, but for that, you need to practice piano every day for 4 hours. They say, what? Isn't there a pill I can take and make me a piano player? I don't want to sit in 4 hours. Are you crazy? Can I do 5 minutes? This is the approach. So that's why, yeah, you can't make a change without putting some effort into it, like anything else in life. You want to play music, you want to do sports, whatever, you need to put the hours in. And in the same way, if people now say, okay, this sounds great, what do I do? Well, first of all, learn, gain the knowledge, gain the skills so you can start doing the practice. It's not enough just to read a book.
Yes.
I'm guaranteeing it's not enough to read a book. It's not enough to take a weekend course with the local shaman. What you need to do is to actually study proper methods of spirituality that come from an authentic spiritual line. And once you do these practices and you start doing them daily, the sooner you get the knowledge and start practicing, the sooner you see results. There's no time to wait. A lot of people think, oh, okay, one day I'll do it. This was okay to say up till a year and a half ago. But
True.
ever since this crisis has gone to a whole new level, and it's just going to get worse, I'm sorry to say, then time is now very short. When should you go and do a spiritual course, a yoga course, a tantra course with us and study the methods and start doing the practice? That's an easy question. Yesterday.
Yesterday. Right.
Yes.
Mhm.
Immediately get on it. That's the only way. That's why I'm doing these teachings, and I'm going to teach in a few days the Shambhala Mysteries of Shambhala workshop, where we're going to explore some of the most amazing teachings about Shambhala and the support from a spiritual perspective, the spiritual center of the planet, as we call Shambhala. And there's a lot of these informations which are coming from very authentic sources. And those knowledge, that kind of teaching can help a lot for people to actually gain the knowledge, the techniques, and get started with practice. You want to change your life, start doing something about it. It's like when Einstein said, the definition of insanity is to do the same thing every day and hope for a different result. So stop doing the same things, do something different, make the leap. That's what I would recommend.
Make the leap. That's right. And I can only share from my own experience. That's my point of reference. A little bit of practice goes a long way. Even if you have limitations, stay the course. For me, it's like an arrow. Just keep, it's not a boomerang. Oh, I'm here, but then I want to go and then I turn around. No, stay the course and keep the momentum. So I'm grateful to you for taking the time, the energy, and truly
Happy to be
for,
here.
staying the course in 2020 and beyond to in the midst of global karma to bring about the spiritual teachings that you have. I've been, in all the courses I will attend next weekend with the Shambhala. I'm looking forward to that one. And also just to say, I'm also seeing in the world, and thank you for bringing that up about, that inner peace that I have. And, it's not, how shall I say? I have a clarity about that inner peace, and that is that it has a big boundary of what I choose to participate and what I choose not to participate. So, life since 2020 has become smaller, and it's more refined into the spiritual life. into less that mundane. My threshold is less. I see this with many people that don't have access to a spiritual university, to the teachings. So alls I can, and just recently heard a dear brother and sister who, the outside pressures from the jobs, the people, the places, the systems, the structures to force the vaccine. And I can't say that I'm anti-vax. I just know that for myself, anything that's forced on me, that's what I'm anti.
That makes sense.
So, to that free will choice. But yeah, I just want to thank you again. And may I say happy birthday today? Today's your birthday.
Yeah, it's true. It's my birthday. Thanks very much.
And blessings to your mother and your father for bringing you onto the world so we could experience you.
Why not? Thanks
All
very
right.
much.
Yeah. So for all you viewers here now, later down the road, I just want to say thank you so much for coming in on Soulful Mondays, and may we have a little bit of arc, spark, and ignition. And as Soma said yesterday, let's get on it.
So I'll just say from my side, I want to thank you for this opportunity and for sharing time with you here. And I hope your viewers have had a good experience. If anybody's interested to look into what we're doing, just go online and go into the website, somananda.org. And Anne has all the info. And otherwise, I want to make sure that everyone are feeling the thirst, the hunger to really make that leap and to start exploring their spiritual life, because there's a lot to explore. And now, more than any other time in the history of humanity, I would say, is the right time to do it. There's no more time for waiting. We need to get started. So thanks for having me.
Okay.
It was a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, Soma. And I will definitely put a link once this pops up on the screen so we can find you. Blessings and have a wonderful birthday, and send my love to Mother India.
Thanks very much.
Bye.
Bye, everyone. Bye. And bye, everyone.
All right.